Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kim Stanley and you're watching Cox Connections, only on Cox 9 Roanoke. We live here too. Maybe you've seen our commercials featuring some of our actual employees talking about how we take pride in the services and technology Cox provides. And when it comes to rolling up their sleeves and volunteering, getting involved, Cox's employees are there too, making a positive impact in our neighborhoods. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to one of our employees doing just that. Barbara Robertson, our Director of Human Resources, is a resource herself for the Rescue Mission in Roanoke. Barbara, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, you've been volunteering for the Rescue Mission now for over 6 years.
I have.
Tell us a little bit about why the Rescue Mission and why volunteer?
Well, I love to volunteer. I think it's important to give back to the community that you live in because I'm a part of that community and that's important to me. And I like to set an example for my family. I have 2 children, and as they were growing up, that was important to me to set the example of giving back. I started involvement with the Rescue Mission because of my faith and was very impressed with the way they are organized and the way they minister to the entire person, both spiritually, physically, mentally, even financially. And that impressed me. And so I started volunteering there about 6 years ago.
That's great. What are some of the services that they provide to our community?
That's a very good question. I think a lot of people are under the impression that they primarily deal with the homeless, and that's true. That is a segment of our client base. At the same time, they're very interested in helping people who are drug, alcohol, abused individuals, or people who actually are addicted, and they have recovery programs that individuals can participate in. They also have the Women and Children's Shelter, which is available to women and children who may find themselves in a situation that's not safe at home and they need somewhere to go. And that's true for men as well, not just women. They try to keep families together, and the Rescue Mission provides that outlet for them.
Yeah, it is a great facility. Because of you, I've had an opportunity to tour down there and help, and it really is a great facility. What are some of the things that you do when you're down there volunteering?
Well, I think anybody who starts with the Rescue Mission can start in the kitchen, and that's where I started, is in the serving on the line, providing the meals to the individuals who come through for food. And that's a great way to get involved in the mission. I also participate in volunteering at the Second Helpings, which is their store on Williamson Road. It's a thrift store, cafe, art museum. And then they have the thrift store across from the Rescue Mission. They also provide reading for children in the evening. They provide tutoring for adults who may need to go back to school and get their GED. So there's a lot of opportunity for an individual who may want to volunteer.
Right. And the thrift stores that you mentioned, they're open to the public, correct?
They are.
Okay.
The one across from the Mission on 2nd Street is open Monday through Saturday. They're closed, both of them are closed on Sundays. And then the other one actually has a cafe. People can go there for lunch, and you can shop in the store and then also participate in looking at the art and purchase that as well.
Okay. A lot of local artists.
They do. The local artists actually have their art on display, and a portion of what is sold there actually goes to the mission.
That's great. Yeah. And what about the Eve Committee? I've heard something about that. Why don't you explain to our viewers what the Eve Committee is?
Well, a lot of the people in our Southwest Virginia Roanoke Valley probably know about the Drumstick Dash. Last year we had 7,500 participants. This year we hope to have 10,000. And the Eve Committee is primarily responsible for coordinating that event. And we are comprised of business women in the community who have the responsibility of taking the mission's message to our business communities and to our business partners and sharing with them what the mission does and getting them involved in things like the Drumstick Dash.
Gosh, that's great. How many hours do you volunteer at the Rescue Mission, or what does it require from an individual?
It doesn't require anything. It's interesting, the Rescue Mission has 4,000 volunteers. We receive no federal, state, local financial support. And so our volunteers are critical for us. We have 4,000. You can volunteer from 30 minutes a week to 30 hours a week. That's entirely up to you and handled on an individual basis. And I average anywhere from 25 to 30 hours a month.
Okay.
There.
So it's really at your discretion and what you can do personally.
It is. And when you contact them, they'll ask you what type of things you may be interested in, and then that helps them match you with the right volunteer opportunity. And you set the day, and the time that you want to participate.
That's great. Well, it's not just about the rescue mission for you. You do so many other volunteer things. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the other things that you're involved with?
Well, I'm on the board for the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm also on the board for the local American Red Cross. Both organizations are very important to me. One of them, the Boys and Girls Club, much like the Rescue Mission, works with children in the area, which I think is critical. And then, of course, the American Red Cross is so important to this valley in terms of not only blood services, but helping people in disaster, floods, fires. It's very important for them to do the work they do.
Right, and we just had the Boys and Girls Club on earlier, and they talked about the importance of volunteering and how much they appreciate volunteers such as yourself, so it's definitely helpful. You've done some overseas volunteering as well.
I have. Through my church, I've been very fortunate to participate in overseas missions work. Last year I went to the Ukraine, and this year I will be going to Romania, which is a country located next to the Ukraine, and then we'll also spend a few days in the Ukraine, working in hospitals, working again with children. I love to work with children, and we'll work in hospitals, and we'll participate in providing like a vacation Bible school for the children there in that area.
That's great. So what do you get out of all this volunteering personally? What does it do for you?
I think for me, there's no greater gift than to give back. I've been very fortunate, and I don't find myself in a lot of the places that people need when they go to the mission, or they go to the Boys and Girls Club, or they have a fire and they have to go to the American Red Cross to get supplies. So I'm fortunate. And because I'm so fortunate, I think it's important for me to give back to the community that I live in, and it's just rewarding. When you have a day where you think you really are in dire straits, you can always find somebody who's in worse shape than you are, and it encourages your heart to give back.
Right. Now, why would you encourage our viewers to volunteer?
Well, I think especially right now in this economy, many of our nonprofits desperately need dollars, and they cannot afford the money or the resources are not available to them. A lot of their funding has been cut. And so volunteers are critical for them to be able to stay afloat and provide the services that the Roanoke Valley and the Roanoke community need. And the volunteers are a way for that to happen. So it's critical for us to give back.
Right. And I can't agree more. You know, as we continue to talk to nonprofits on this show, we're just hearing more and more that they're at capacity, and they need volunteers desperately. So thank you so much for all you do, and in the community, and for Cox. You know, it's so important to Cox as well that our employees are out there, and you're just such a great Cox ambassador.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a part of Barbara's reward for being named Volunteer of the Quarter for her good work, Cox is donating $500 to the rescue mission. Before you go, I want to personally thank you for choosing Cox Communications for your entertainment, information, and communication needs. We know you could have chosen another provider, but because you chose us, we promise to provide you with quality products backed up by a local talented team of professionals. I'm Kim Stanley, and I'll see you next time on Cox Connections.